pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor Williams? Here. Commissioner Basom? Here. Commissioner Elman?
Here.
Commissioner Holloway? Here. Commissioner Mazzola?
Here.
Commissioner Myle?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas? Here. Quorum is present. We need an approval of the agenda.
I just got a question. Do we have to approve the special meeting minutes? Because that's not on the agenda that I saw. It says commission meeting minutes, but there's not.
And technically, that should go above commission meeting because it happened prior to it, right?
So I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the approval of special meeting minutes for
Support.
April 9.
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? On to public comments. All right, so standing item first, an approval of the special meeting minutes from April 9th, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes for April 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of commission meeting minutes, regular meeting on April 9th, 2019.
I have a question regarding the understanding items. It says motion made, approved minutes with the changes made. What changes? Because I think these minutes should be self-contained. If this goes into the record book, how do we know what changes were made and how do you find them later? I think we should put them in there, the changes made solid, so that the minutes are clear. Does this one go in the minute book? This goes in the minute book?
Yes, but the minutes that I changed are in front of it. Like, they go in date order.
And do they have strike through on the text that you took out?
Either
Okay.
strike or adding. I mean, there's
Right,
ones.
but I mean, you can see it in the
There's
edit.
two sets of minutes then?
Like the March 26th minutes, I made the changes that were supposed to be made. And
Okay,
then
so
put
they
them
go in the minutes book with the changes made.
Yes,
Okay.
because that's how they're approved. So like, these minutes right here that we're approving tonight are not in the book yet, because I have to wait until they're approved at the meeting.
So these minutes will go in and say with the changes made. So then you gotta go back and look at the minutes for the meeting and see what the changes were.
Yes, because I used to put the changes and then,
I moved the minutes. Okay, March 26th, 2019,
All in favor?
Aye.
right?
Any opposed?
April 9th, March 20th.
Approval of bill payments for the month of April 2019 in the amount of $27,798.87.
What's Micro Air Consulting?
That's where the asbestos evaluation of the storage there.
Motion to approve the bills for the second half of April.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Chief Patino for your monthly police department report.
You've got my written report. The only thing I want to add is the festivities at the leading golf. A lot of people in town.
I missed it.
Jamie, do you have anything to add to?
I do not, thank you.
Can I go back to?
Yeah.
Joe, you've got patrol miles of 932. You got property inspections. Is that 154 miles in addition to 932 or is it included in 932? That's patrol miles. Is this miles that are in addition to that?
In addition to what?
So in addition to 960. So the patrol miles 962.
Okay.
Property inspections 154. Is that mileage, so we got this plus this, or is
Yeah,
this all this?
well, this is when we inspect property,
Okay,
and this is just miles on a car.
so is that included in 932?
No, that's
Okay,
not.
so it's 932 plus, or total mileage. Okay. Thank you.
If I may clarify, I always thought the number was not the miles for property inspection, but number of properties inspected.
Right.
Okay.
Number of properties we inspected and then the miles.
Right, they are the miles.
Yeah, they're separate.
Great, thank you.
So the miles from the property inspections are included in 932?
It's a separate number.
Yeah, that's mileage,
Right.
and this is inspections.
Yes.
So that if there's 3 miles for this inspection, it's included in this figure? I mean, if you drove 2 miles to this property inspection, that would be this.
No. No, this is all included on all these here, like the traffic stops, the liquor inspections. We have to transport, this is the total miles, the patrol miles we have.
Okay.
And that's, includes all these, any criminal complaints.
So you have property inspected 154 miles, is that
No,
right?
154
Inspections, okay. So these are inspections, and this, the mileage is already in there.
Yeah, that covers all of this here.
Okay, the 932 covers mileage for all the liquor inspections, traffic stop.
Yeah, if we drive to the AGO or to, all that.
Lester, do you have anything to add to your report?
Sure. I attended the legislative update yesterday afternoon down at MCC in Sydney. Good information was shared, very good information. Also, a couple of things from the county. They have a community shred day coming up in July 20th, Saturday, so we'll be joining forces and promoting this event as well. Up to 4 boxes or bags per resident. We can come and shred on site. So that's one event. Also, we have our community cleanup day coming up next Saturday. Chief Patino has done some work with addressing some of the blight properties and giving notices out to those individuals. So we're looking forward to seeing the after effect of having the event. And other than that, that's all I have. Mayor Williams did an excellent job last week at the Consumers Energy Pitch Competition. Yeah. We were one of the 10 finalists out of 40 applicants, so I think we'll go back and be more prepared for next year. The stakes are a bit higher next year, from 15,000 this year up to 50,000 next year. So we had some good feedback, and also just checking out those 3 that won, and some of their projects had already been underway and very thorough. So we got the notice, and Mayor Williams got together and put together a competitive proposal. But all in all, things are moving. The spring is here, and every department is working hard and attending to the customers. So that's all I have.
All right, so now we can go on to the presentation by Kevin Foster from Pride at Newhoff on the South Grant overview.
Hi, good evening, everyone. About a month ago, I was up here and Commissioner Glad had asked what SAW was, and during a conversation about a grant opportunity, it got to thinking, the SAW grant that the city of Santa has, when was kind of the last time I came before Commission as a whole and talked about what we're doing and what SAW grant is and represents. The resolution was actually passed to go for the SAW grant in 2013. Obviously, nobody sitting on commission was here at that time. We last gave an update in June of 2017. Commissioner Weil, Commissioner Basin were here, as Commissioner Seaman was too at the time. So we just wanted to give a brief update as to what SAW is and what we're doing, what it means for Stanton. So what is SAW? MDQ developed an asset management plan program, capital improvement for municipal stormwater and wastewater infrastructure. That's what SAW stands for, stormwater and wastewater. City of Stanton was a round 4 grant winner, which means the completion date for round 4 applicants is December 31st, 2019. Slid back a couple of months from when it was originally. It was originally October 31st. The DEQ has allowed it to slide out a little couple of months just for their own processing reasons. Stanton's grant amount was for a little over $1 million, $1,024,313 exactly. Stanton was deemed to be a disadvantaged community for the entire grant amount, which means that $1,024,313 had no match to it. It was free money to the city of Stanton. So it's a pretty sizable amount of money. What have we as Pioneer New Hawk done to date? Well, a lot of the work we've done to date has been getting to know the city system. So I'm not going to kind of go through all of these, but we've been poking our noses in every manhole, catch basin, anything that we can find, and letting Jamie know what interesting things we found within the system along the way. Along with coming up with our survey team and doing some survey of the manhole structures and using the fancy GPS that I believe you guys all got to see here a couple weeks ago, and using that as well. What we originally started doing was some zoom camera work. Now what a zoom camera is it's a high-powered camera on a long pole. It's linked to a tablet or some sort of a device, and we place that down each manhole that we can get in, and we take a look around. It has a limited range. We can only see about 100 feet up each sewer, but it gives us a pretty good indication of the structural integrity of the manhole itself, and as far as we can see up the line. So we can see things like the line has been collapsed, or there's a whole bunch of roots in the line, or anything like that. Kind of gives us a baseline idea of the infrastructure. The GPS unit, which obviously Jamie showed you guys here last week, and the city now owns. That was purchased through the SAW grant as well. A little over $10,000 unit, so it is a little expensive, but it is a wonderful tool to have, and is the city's use moving forward. The units in general have a varying degree of accuracy. The unit that Stanton has and the unit that we've been buying for a lot of municipalities we've been doing our SAW grant work through has about a sub-foot accuracy. So it's pretty accurate, especially horizontally. Vertically, we wouldn't use it to like design a road off of, but it'll give you a pretty good baseline of where something's at. Anybody have any questions?
It's a sub-foot, is that less than a foot?
Less than a foot, yep. So generally, with the communities that we've been finding, if we took a GPS shot on something and then surveyed it, we've been finding the accuracies probably generally run about 4 inches. So it's pretty close. Smoke testing, this is something we did a little over a year ago in the sanitary system. And what it basically is we sit there and force smoke into the city's sanitary sewer system. And then we look for points where smoke is billowing out of the ground. And what that indicates is areas where stormwater can then get into the sanitary system. Any stormwater that gets into the city's sanitary system is then a process which the city has to treat in the lagoons. So the city wants to do everything it can to minimize points. Typically, we find a lot of points, manhole covers that have open bolts on them, or in this case, this was actually a couple of photos from the city, or slotted cover with some slots in it, draining the parking lot. 2 big ones are also any sump pump drains that are connected to a homeowner's sanitary lateral, or roof drains that are tied into the sanitary lateral. Both of those can also reduce a lot of storm water into the sanitary system. And then last year, we also did some CCTV work. What I mean by that, CCTV is closed caption televising, where we hire, in this case, plumbers, environmental services came up, and they basically went down every sanitary line that they could get down and storm line within the city limits with a remote controlled little unit there. We didn't get out every sewer line because some of them didn't have manholes on them, or some of them had some structural issues that the thing couldn't make it past, but we got as many as that we could. This unit, it's more expensive to do this than what a zoom camera is, vastly more expensive, but it does allow for a detailed inspection. We can see where every sanitary lateral ties into the line. We can see any structural defects with the line from point A to point B, manhole to manhole, manhole to outlet. So it gives us a pretty vast understanding of the condition of each sewer line. Here's a couple pictures of some of the lines from Stanton. Obviously, I'll show you some pictures of some great looking sewers within the city, and I can show you some pictures of some sewers that have some issues. So give you a couple ideas as to some of the things that we can see. Obviously, we have a line here on the left where the wall's been punctured. It's a PVC line up off of State Street, or excuse me, up off of M66 over by Mount Calm Jail there. The other line over here is a line that has it's an old clay sewer line where the wall's been broken off. That is over off of Walnut west of Court. So these are some of the areas when we find these, we flag these, and they go into the SAW grant as areas that are going to need to get fixed or replaced. Other communities obviously have different challenges when they video their sewers. So this is my attention grabbing, everybody gets to laugh picture. What are we currently working on? Right now, a lot of the stuff we're doing is stuff with the lift stations and the wastewater treatment facility, the lagoons down there, getting an assessment on those and their operating capacities. And then a lot of stuff back in the office as far as data entry, assessments, and review of all the conditions that are coming. So when I say asset management, what do I mean? Well, on the right here, we have a picture of what I get to look at when I log into the GIS program for the city of Stanton. It's a map of Stanton and all the sanitary sewer system. It's kind of spread out, so it's a little hard to get any detail off of that one. But we develop an inventory and a map of the entire system. We assess the condition, we assess the failure risk, and the consequences of what would happen if that line were to fail. From there, we develop a level of service, an asset management plan, a capital improvement plan, and then finally, the fun one everybody gets to love, we get to talk about how we're going to fund any capital improvements. So the inventory and the map, where do we get that data from? Well, some of it's existing. Jamie obviously has a whole bunch of records down at his office. A lot of it we did with going out and surveying and GPing SO the structures. Some of it's some aerial mapping, and then existing information that we get from the county as far as parcel information. So we piece all that together and kind of develop the whole grandiose map. Risk of failure. When I talk about that, what do I mean? We assign a failure rating to each pipe. You kind of go through the ratings a little bit with, good, pipe brand new, flows great. Obviously, down here on the far left, where the pipe has failed or failing, and that's not what you want to see when obviously you're looking at one of your sewers, because that's problematic, and that makes GE sweat.
Is that the color of the lines on the map?
Yep.
Yes. So those lines could be either sewer or water?
Sewer in this case. Yep. For our sanitary sewer system, this is kind of a rating, a little pie chart here for the city of Stanton sewer system, sanitary system. On the next slide here will be some sewer information. City has about 8.7 miles of sewer, ranges in size from about 3 inch to 24 inch. 3 inches a little small and not up to code nowadays, so that's some of the stuff we will be addressing with the capital improvement program. Average risk of failure, here's a big one that everybody should pay attention to, is 1.92. What that means is the city system overall, sanitary-wise, is in pretty decent shape. Anything from high 3s to a 4 is where we start going, okay, how long is the sewer going to last? Average age of the system is about 35 years old, with the oldest installed about 1960 sometime. Storm system, a little under, just over 3 miles, so not quite as much storm system as their sanitary. A little bit bigger pipe though with some 24 inch. Risk of failure there again, 2.2. As a whole, the system is in pretty decent shape, but obviously we all know that the city has some storm infrastructure challenges, especially on the west side in heavy rain events. The average age is about 37 years old, and the oldest has been installed in 1960.
What's the other one again?
Risk of failure. So we go back a little bit. It kind of delineates this as a failure rating on a scale of 1 to 5, how bad or how good the pipe is. So low numbers are good in this instance. Consequence of failure is a different scale, and so when we talk about consequence of failure, it's also on a 1 to 5 scale, but it measures how bad it would be if that sewer were to fail. My kind of nickname for this is the Jamie O shoot factor. So if he gets a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and it says, hey, the sanitary sewer on this street between here and here failed, how bad is he gonna go? Oh. So that's what consequence of failure is. So we take into consideration when we're giving that rating, other utilities that are around that. If it's a mainline sanitary and it blows, does the water main next to it fail too? Does the storm system fail next to it too? How big is the pipe? How much flow is in the pipe? What businesses or residents can be impacted? Is it a sanitary main running right down the middle of town that would be catastrophic if it failed, or is it one kind of way out in the the south side of town here that maybe wouldn't be quite as impactful? What roads it under? What maybe your local streets too? So give it that rating. Then we talk about criticality. Criticality is on a scale of 1 to 25, and it is a multiplication of the risk of failure and the consequence of failure numbers. So basically, we take those two numbers that we've got and we times them together, and that's our criticality factor. What this gives us is information on what sewer segments are at the greatest risk to fail and would be the most negatively impactful if a failure were to occur. So when we start talking about capital improvement plan, we're going to take a look at this criticality number, and these are the sewers we want to attack first. So just some general information as far as design life cycles when we start talking about how long a sanitary sewer, how long a water main should last. You can see that sanitary sewers, water mains typically last 75 to 80 years, which is about the length of 3 road cycles. So you should be replacing a road about 3 times before you should have to replace the sanitary and storm sewer underneath it, or the water main underneath it. And pathways on there too for anybody who's interested in our wonderful Veterans Park project that's moving forward. The development of the capital improvement plan. This is what we're going to be moving forward here with in the next couple of months. SAW program develops a 10-year capital improvement program to address the immediate infrastructure needs. Those criticality ratings that are really, really high, those risk of failure ratings that are really high, these are the items that we're going to be attacking first. One of the things that we do in the CIP is we start to suggest, recommend that communities develop a 10-year rotating cycle of videoing the sewer mains. That way, you're constantly getting more feedback on the condition of this main. Just because we TV'd it this year doesn't mean 5 years from now that it's still going to be in that general condition. A lot of things can impact it, roots and stuff like that. So we want to make sure we're continuing to review these, and the programs that we're going to be providing with Jamie and Rester here by the end of this thing with their access to the GIS programs will allow them to kind of update that data as well. So we meet with staff to determine project schedules and review budgets. Obviously, the city isn't going to be able to fund every single project that's probably going to be shown in the SAW program immediately. So we stage these out, talk about prioritization, talk about available funds, and we kind of go from there and develop a feasible way to attack some of these projects. From that capital improvement plan, we will give that to our financial analysts. I'll kind of cover that here in just a minute as far as what their piece of this pie is, and then we talk about a rate study for that. When I show this slide, everybody starts to immediately get a little nervous. I want to caution this is kind of an average for communities statewide as far as expectations of dollar amounts per household for maintaining the system. Now, a lot of the stuff that you guys fund now, water rates, sewer rates, readiness to serve charges, taxes, some of the stuff is already included in these numbers. So it may seem like a lot. This is just kind of a number as you're thinking down the road, how to fund, what we should expect for funding for maintaining the system. These are just kind of some baseline numbers. Financial advisors. Find a new office paired with Umball has recently partnered with another company, so now they go by Baker Tilly. But our grant includes cost for them to do a rate study for the sanitary sewer system. This is about a $13,000 to $15,000 expenditure, but they will come in and they get to go down through all the finances with Vester. I'm sure he's greatly looking forward to that, and talk about all the funding for the city's sanitary sewer system, any grants, any outstanding bills that they have, any bonds that have to pay off. So, and they will go through all that. When they're all said and done with their piece of the puzzle, they provide a 20-year cash analysis, and the most important piece is they provide a suggested rate structure to meet the capital improvement plans moving forward.
Really quick, they'll do the same for water too. Right?
So they have provided, Umball/Baker Tilly has provided the city a proposal to do a rate study for the water system as well. That is not funded through the grant, through the SAW grant. However, they do, Baker Tilly does do that program at a discount because they are already doing one for the SAW sanitary system. So we do recommend that communities do take advantage of that. What that allows is when we're in front of everybody talking about rates for the system, that we're doing a holistic view of both sanitary and water. So it is up to the city whether or not they choose to do that. We'll bring that in front of you guys in due time, but we do recommend doing that, just so when we start talking about future rates, that you guys have a view for both the sanitary system and the water system.
And how long would the water take to analyze?
They do it at the exact same schedule. So they will be doing the water, if you guys choose to, they will be doing the water system at the same time that they do the sanitary system. So all that data will be given to you at the same time before the SAW grant comes. Yep. So. I tried to keep it brief. That was the only thing on the agenda tonight. I tried to keep it as a 3,000-foot view because I could talk probably for about 4 hours on all the ins and outs and nitty-gritty of what we do with the SAW grant, and you guys would all be bored out of your minds. So I will take any questions if you guys have it specific to what we're doing, what the SAW grant is, and
I got something. John Seaman, 116 Vine Street. But that SAW grant, that's for the sewer lines, right?
storm sewer and sanitary sewer.
Okay, you're not gonna dead end something like they did the water up there north of the town, right? Run an 8-inch or 10-inch straight across and dead end it at 66 for no reason?
It's not that way now.
Huh?
It's not that way now.
That don't sit up there empty?
That's a 12-inch line. It's a 12-inch that tied into the existing 8-inch, so it created a loop.
So John does have a good point though that I wanted to clarify. The SAW grant is an asset management grant. It actually does not fund any actual construction activities. So I know that's kind of the bummer of it all. So we're spending $1 million basically getting to know the city system about as well as you're going to be able to get to know it, and then developing a capital improvement plan and suggested rates to fund that capital improvement plan. And then funding goes to, well, we got to start talking about the rate increases. I think everybody needs to hear that word. Grant opportunities or any other available modes of developing some funds to tackle these projects.
So my number one suggestion to Jane this morning was to get all the information you can out of Kevin while we get on to pay for it, so. Ask a lot of questions.
Actually, who pays for it then?
The state, the taxpayers.
And aren't we the country that's in debt up to our ass and we're just grabbing grants everywhere we can grab to do things to help other people do shit? This community hasn't grown an inch in several years. I haven't seen any sewers or any waterways really break or to be destroyed or any infrastructure failure. But yet we're gonna go and grab more money again. I mean, when does the cycle stop? We're in debt up to our butts as a country, and yet as a community, we just keep grabbing to the well that keeps putting us as a country farther and farther in debt. I see what you're saying and I get it, but are we at that point yet? If we had growth and we had many new homes coming in, we had new people coming into this industry, this area. I could see where we might need sewer improvements, water improvements.
But we need to maintain what we have.
That's kind of like,
And I agree, that's my question. You say, hey, it's free. It's not free. It's what we pay for, us taxpayers. And I don't run a corporation that makes any money from doing that, or getting this
Well,
grant.
I think the number one thing that we need to remember is it's not Kevin that has created the grant opportunity for us.
Obviously, but we all take advantage of it. Every community I go to takes advantage of all this free money, and it's not free. And I think we overlook that. And I'll stop there, all right? And I think you did a great presentation, and I know where you're coming from. I'm just trying to explain that money isn't free. It's not free. You say,
Well, I
hey,
think we
you
all
have to pay for
understand
it.
that.
We do have to pay for it. We do have to pay for it.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions?
I'm not gonna-
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
I'd like to add, Kevin, that you kind of add to my addition. When they do the closed caption televising, not only do you get a view of the entire lateral or main, you also get some pinpoint accuracy as to where some of those laterals come in as well, don't you?
Yep.
So I've called Kevin a few times to ask him where a lateral ties in, because it's underground and you can't see where these things are. And you can actually go through the televised view, and it gives you exactly
Distance from the manhole.
distance manhole.
Yeah, I can tell you, any line that was videoed, if Jamie called and says, hey Kevin, I have a sewer backup at such and such property, I can pull up that video, and I can watch that video, and I can kind of piece down, and it will stop, that camera stops at every manhole or every lateral location, and gives me a distance away from that manhole, so I can tell Jamie within 4 or 5 inches, how far away is that manhole.
Been a tremendous help.
That lateral.
Aren't those gonna be mapped also?
Yep, so by the time we're done with this project, and some of the stuff that Jamie actually is gonna have, Dan Cruikshank from our office will be up tomorrow to work with him on some of the computer stuff. The city will have complete access to all of the information.
One other thing is just the development of solutions, so some of those PVC pipes that you mentioned, they have cured in place piping, which is a lot less expensive, and you can go in and they, I don't want to get into the technicality of it, just know that it's an alternative to just digging up the entire structure, and you want to
So
expand
when
on that.
we talk about capital improvement projects, we look at the sewer as a whole. Some of the sewers, the whole sewer may need to replace. Some of the sewers, it may just be a simple spot that needs to be replaced. Some sewers, like Lester was saying, are still structurally pretty good, but have multiple imperfections along them, and we can employ some tools like cast and plate sewer lining, stuff like that, to kind of make the sewer go. So there's a lot of opportunities to do some different measures to kind of correct some of these flaws within the system. Some of them cheaper than others.
And just one other point, just to reach back to the other grant opportunity that we applied for, that, for road maintenance. The information that Kevin's been able to provide prevented us from putting on a new road, roadway that we may need to tear up and put in new utility lines. So this piece of the puzzle is very critical because it helps us with planning. And when I jumped in there, I was like, maybe let's do all this stuff in the capital improvement plan. And Kevin's like, wait a minute, we're going through this SOG program, and once we have all that data collected, that good useful information, then we can put together a solid plan and attack those critical assets that need to be attended to. So thank you again, Kevin. I appreciate all the information, and Jimmy and I will definitely be in contact with you.
Perfect, thank you.
Great, now on to new business item, consideration by the city commission to set May 14th, 2019 as the date to hold a public hearing on the city of Stanton proposed budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
So this is pretty much following the ordinance, the city ordinances for finances. We have to have a public hearing before it's approved, so on the 14th, now I have the complete document put together, do some last finishing touches, so it's a complete document for your viewing and for the public viewing. If you feel like this is something you approved, we can approve it that night, or we have a second meeting in May as well as a backup. But by no later than the beginning of June, we have to have the budget approved. So it's coming full steam ahead, and as early as tomorrow morning, we'll get the public hearing notice in local newspapers. So.
Does this need a time associated with that, or to say during the regular? Because as this states, it just says it's going to be on May 14th, it doesn't tell the public what to do.
At the top, so 1, Tuesday, May 14th, time 7 p.m.
Oh, yes. Where does it say? This board. Oh, that, okay. Yes. It just was. Just for the minute, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, minutes, I didn't have a time, okay. I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for May 14th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on to committee reports.
I can give a quick update. I shared in my weekly report of the Veterans Memorial Park project. Matt from Prime Newhoff, he and I, and sorry, Kevin, you made an appearance. Kevin was a little late, but he made it. We met last week to go over the plans and set a timeline for construction and talk about different ideas and potential cost savings. Matt on Friday sent me a note, said, I got an idea, how about we shift the parking lot closer to the roadway so that there's not this long gravel or paved road going to a parking lot, and that may, you may see some more cost savings by doing that. So that was the only major change, I would say, that I wanted to bring to you all's attention. I instructed Matt to move forward with that plan. I don't think it drastically changes the layout of the park and accomplishes a lot of what we want in this first phase. The construction window, we also looked at that, and I said, you know, getting started in the middle of summer probably isn't the best, you know, for just the seating. And Matt agreed, he said, yeah, I think also if we stretch out that window a little bit more, give some more flexibility to the contractors, that will help us as well. And then it'll all fall in line. I think we have some other opportunities that we want to do in terms of fundraising and so forth. So just a little bit more of an update, and I'll keep you all abreast going forward if we get other changes that happen. If any. So, any questions on that or any information I was shared?
So that will lower the cost of phase one. It'll lower the cost of phase one. Yes, yes.
For DDA, just there are still murder mystery tickets available if anyone is interested, but we do highly recommend that you do purchase them as we're starting to look at food. And I think we're gonna close it so that people can't not buy tickets at the door for planning purposes. So just keep that in mind, and look for an article in the Daily News in the next week on that. So with that, is there any questions on that event, or we'll move on to public comments?
John Seaman, 116 Pine Street. I got a problem. Who's gonna pay that $700 which should go to the county for our police department car? The chase started up there, north of the police department, came down and went out to Nuns, by Nuns. Sheriff's Department is right there. Why are we gonna pay for our own stuff broken?
When you said we pay for our own,
Why?
that's ours.
Ain't it county? It's a city car, right? Outside the city limits. Why is the city paying for it?
talking about damages?
Damages.
Yeah, we submitted a claim to our insurance is on one.
Yeah, to our insurance.
But
Why
then
not
they
the
will
county?
subrogate,
It's the county's problem.
but insurance works that they will subrogate back against the counties.
Because you guys agreed on this mutual aid. Where is the county's help for us? Sydney's already got screwed. They just went to their meeting because their car that they're paying for was up at the video store across from the road commission radar and trying to get somebody on speeding tickets in the city limits. And I told them, I said, you guys are paying for that car to do that.
I think there's a little bit more to that case, John, that I know it's under
But
investigation.
is that a city car leaving the city limits getting hurt?
I think the incident of pursuit, if I'm correct, Chief, it passed through the city of Stanton. But, yeah, Chief can answer some questions if you want to talk to him offline.
No, it's not that. The problem is, it's a city car leaving the city limits. Where is the county? Hold them responsible. They're gonna hold us responsible, right? In your agreement, your mutual agreement said, if there's gonna be consequences if you don't uphold the end of the contract. Why don't you go after them for not upholding their end of the contract? They wrote it.
Are there any additional public comments?
Hi, Dave Overholt, Sydney, Michigan. I'm gonna talk a little bit about our community and our county, not just Stanton. Stanton has a great police force and does a great job keeping the crime rate down, but our crime rate out of this area has jumped dramatically in violent crimes, and you can ask Joe on that. A lot of shootings, a lot of gun violence. The minimal crimes has come up quite a bit too. Our death rate behind car accidents in this county has soared to unbelievable amounts, about 280%. Not counting last week's victim in Howard City from our community who hit a tree. But it's all happened in the same time that we lost our sheriff's patrols, okay, the public safety aspect. And we try to put together our sewers, and we try to keep our water, we try to do everything right for our little communities, but at the end of the day, we're just a little community in a big picture here, the county. And we're gonna ask our residents for a millage increase. That's gonna put about $188 for every $100,000 home they own in value. So pretty much that's gonna go down the tubes again. In a millage increase to put sheriffs back on the road. Now, it isn't like we've never had sheriffs before. We had a sheriff's patrol up to a couple of years ago, so we know what that's like. We know what it's like now with not having one. We've seen the results. And we have a lot of different things that we have to fund, and everything's going on in this community, in this county. And yet, the medical marijuana issue and some of the issues that we've tried to address to bring revenue here to solve some of these issues seem to get overlooked. But we want to grab grants from the public money and just continue to add to our debt load. But we don't look at the really solutions for our community here that would provide a police force again at a county level and not have these issues where our law enforcement is going out of the area where they really don't belong. That's what the sheriff does. But we've really never even addressed them. If we didn't have a fire department right now because of the same issues, I bet you we'd all be on our toes right now. But when it comes to law and order, it seems like nobody really cares whether we have cops on the road or we have public safety until it gets to this level. And the level is here. People better wake up. People realize that we don't have sheriffs on the road no more. Criminals are coming here because of that. People are doing things really bad. I was passed today on the road going to my store at 10 o'clock in the morning by a car going, I was at 58 miles an hour. He went by me in a little car, Cooper Mini, going at least 70, 75 miles an hour down County Farm. And when I got to my store, he was parked in front of Simpson's funeral parlor to go to a funeral today. Well, I didn't know if he was trying to become his own funeral or what. But that's happening every day. I go to work every day, and I see these people just everywhere now. We have no public safety here.
Thank
You
you for
have
your
it
comment,
decided.
Dave, it's,
But
Your
you guys
time is
gotta,
up.
you guys gotta move forward with some of these things.
it is in our goals to work in that, and this
I hope
next,
so. Otherwise, you know, there's voter
Year.
referendums and stuff like that that can override public people that are in charge. And people are waiting for results and answers how to fix some of the problems.
thank you. Any
Thank
commissioner
you.
comments?
I'd like on the agenda for 14, ask for excused absence that day for the public hearing and put the budget and for the meeting, I'll be in Germany.
Anything else?
And then also ask, thank Kevin for the presentation, it made more sense to me. Bring it all together, I want to make picture, appreciate that.
I got just a little question. The taxpayers in Stanton pay to the county, how much of that, is there a way to find out how much of their taxes go to the sheriff's department? Since we have our own police department, why can't we pull that back out and put it back into the town? Since we're doing county work, why can't it be done?
Because that's not how a millage works.
Not millage, no. Your taxes on your house, so much goes to the county, so much goes to the state, so much goes to the city. It's divided 3 ways. How much of that going to the county is slated for the sheriff's department?
That's all, there are statutes and laws concerning that, and it's something that's beyond our control, John, I'm sure. You know, we can't control that. If you want to change.
But that's what I'm saying. Why are we paying for the county? We already pay for it, being in the city.
We have to.
We can stop it. We can stop our officers from going outside city limits.
All right, unfortunately, the public comment portion of the meeting is over with. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adjourn.
There's one for you.
Is it quiet?